North Shore, it's a different story. This is a fire that began on Friday afternoon, so it's smaller in size, greater in its impact in terms of property. More than 30 buildings destroyed there. Now, the fire is listed at a much larger containment than the Flanders fire, about 62%. There's been a big detour around this area between Two Harbors and Castle Danger. But again, progress being made certainly on a containment front. So let's talk to now the mayor of Two Harbors, Lew Conner, joining us. And thanks so much for your time. I know you've had a busy weekend as well.
It has been interesting last few days. But first of all, thank you for giving us the attention and putting us on. This is helpful just to get the news out to different folks, not only in the state but in our area.
Yeah, in terms of the situation, again, looking at the updated information from the Minnesota Incident Command Center, 62% contained, 355 acres. I mean, any updates to that information on what the status is today?
It's still the same. The rain helped quite a little bit. There'll be another report. I just came from an update. The governor happened to be in town for an update with a couple of the senator's representatives. So they did indicate that that'll be further along in terms of containment later today. But right now, officially, it's still 62%.
Yeah, and I see that the update today, the cause listed as a downed power line. Do you know anything additional about that?
I actually don't. The last time that I met with the commanders of this, at that point they were still investigating. So if that came out, then I haven't talked to them directly about it.
Okay. Well, again, tell me about the impact here. As we noted, acreage-wise, smaller than the Flanders fire, but impact-wise on property, much larger. I mean, what's the scope of that impact in terms of how it's directly affected the people who live and work there?
Well, it's certainly it's bad in terms of anyone that's going to lose a home. It's a devastating experience. And from my understanding, there are 8 dwellings that are a part of the overall picture, 24 outbuildings that were part of it. But one of the important things that I do want to focus on them. We're going to have to do support for them as well, but also focusing on the numerous homes that were saved by the firefighters when they came in. There were a tremendous number of homes that you can see where the fire had come up and burnt shingles and burnt portions of the roof, but the firefighters were in the community, and from around the regional firefighters that came in were able to save a large number of homes as well.
Yeah, and you see some of those preventative efforts too, where they set up either sprinkler systems or they're hosing down roofs to make sure that, the way these things spread is not only do they spread in a line, but it's all those embers in the air that then land on other trees or land on buildings. And so keeping those roofs as wet as possible, you think that made a difference?
Yeah, I'm sure it did. And again, the collaborative effort, there are 28 different fire stations that were here from around the region. So just being able to have that coordination and the dedication from those first responders from other cities to come help us with this. We're a small fire department. I mean, we're a volunteer fire department. All resources were on the ground at 3 o'clock Friday afternoon, getting people evacuated along with the Lake County Sheriff's Office. But just the other help that's come in. At one point, I think the number was 77 different firefighters were here. So 28 different stations. That collaborative effort is just so important.
Yeah, and the containment here, 62%, that's good news, which a lot of it is creating the fire breaks, digging ditches or other things, moistening down areas or getting rid of some trees. Have you seen those efforts firsthand?
Yeah, I have, because quite honestly, the fire started just 3 miles outside the city limits, and it did head north to start with. The winds were blowing that way, but yesterday we had a tremendous number of winds and it started blowing back the other direction. So just to be sure that we didn't have anything within the city limits, there were some containment areas that had to be near the city. So that was important, and it didn't come back. We're safe. We had an evacuation plan if we needed it, but fortunately we didn't need it.
Yeah, and then having Lake Superior right there, see a lot of video of them able to, obviously you fight these with water, and in the lakes area, in the boundary waters area, we see them But the fact that Lake Superior is directly across the street and maybe easier for the helicopters and others to access. I mean, how quickly were they able to constantly put water on it?
It was almost immediate. Evacuating people on Friday was important, but I believe by Friday evening, we were already hearing the planes flying over, seeing them flying over, and they fly in tandem, so they're two of them together, one dipping down, getting the water. They had a helicopter. We do have a nice municipal airport, so there's places for them to land in a new airport terminal as well. So we saw them on Friday, but in full force on Saturday as well.
And tell me about any of the businesses there. You know, we mentioned primary residence and outbuildings, but how have businesses there been affected by this?
Fortunately, there are no businesses that I'm aware of at this point. There may be in the area that it was along Highway 61, but in that area, the primary business, and this happened right across the street from Betty's Pies, which is a well-known Two Harbors area restaurant and pie shop. Essentially, they were not affected. And I don't think there are many businesses north of where they are. So I think from a business standpoint, we're okay.
And then in terms of the businesses, then on the flip side of this, stepping up to help the residents who are affected or the crews that are responding, what can you tell me about that?
Yeah, well, we went through this a year ago with the Brinson Camp House fire. We were the command center for that, and the residents always come up and pitch in, and the restaurants are there to offer food for the first responders as well as anybody that was impacted by the fire. So that all happened again this year. The most difficult thing is that there's not a lot we can do while the fire is burning, other than those that are displaced, trying to find locations for them. And we had local churches and pastors and people just opening their house up to some of the people. So that's what's important from a community to be able to do. And now, as they try to get back in, or if they can't get back in, finding the resources to help them moving forward after the fire is what's going to be important for the city.
Okay. In terms of the detour that's in place between Castle Danger and Two Harbors, which is, pretty lengthy detour, how long do you anticipate, have you heard how long that might be in place?
I haven't heard specifically, but I did hear that was a part of the conversation that they gave to the governor, that they're hopefully by the end of next week, not by Thursday or Friday of this week, they're hoping that something could be done with that. The biggest problem isn't necessarily a fire being involved; it's the trees that were damaged along the way. Branches can fall, things like that, unexpectedly. So they got to be sure all that's taken care of before they open things back up. Okay, and then lastly, again, you mentioned meeting with the governor who's touring the area up there. Any other indication of what further support the state can provide? Well, he did point blank asked me what we were going to need, and I said we will need something. I'm not sure what it is yet, but they're definitely working on what they can do. And we had Senator Hochschild and Representative Scraba were both in the room as well, all of which are supporting it. Now the next step would be to figure out where the funds are going to come from, how we access it. IRRR is always one resource that we can work on for some of the people that are being displaced. All right, Lew Conner, the mayor of Two Harbors, thanks for taking your time with us today to give us more insight on this. And I know you've been busy. Best of luck on the days ahead. Thanks, Rob. All right, there.